Hi, this is Sandy, and this week we're going to be concentrating on fall. And last week we did trees with very little leaves, and they were more impressionistic leaves with just a hint of color. This week we're actually going to make leaves, and we're going to have fun making them colorful leaves. Okay, let's start with a leaf. You've got lots of trees wherever you are, I'm sure. And this is a typical maple leaf, or maple coming from a maple tree. An oak tree, I'm sorry. And these are the acorns. It was cut off right here. But look how it grows. The leaves aren't right on the stem. The leaves are apart from the stem with a little stem of its own. And then each one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaves. This one has 3 leaves. And any place there's a leaf, it looks like there's a little growth there that let it grow. Now let's look at the leaf shape. This is an oak leaf. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points to it. It has a middle stem, and everything grows from the stem out. So it doesn't just start here, it grows from down here, up, and then out. Down here, up, and out, not just there it is. Let's look at the little acorns. What color are they? This one has some yellow in it, some green, some brown, a little tan. I don't see much yellow in this one. I don't see any yellow right here. So we've got to make note of those things in our head. How are we going to do that? Now this is called a live oak. This is a Texas tree. And look at these little bitty acorns. They don't get as big as those other acorns. But these trees don't lose their leaves in the fall, and they lose them in the spring for maybe a week, and then the new leaves grow back right away. But the leaves are very small. And since we have a lot of heat down here, they get a lot of spots on them. We can look at these and say, okay, the acorns here are green. There's no yellow in them or anything. And the hats are bigger than the nut right now. But these nuts will come in February. So this has a while to grow yet. Now we don't have the maple trees down here. So I had to go to my silk flowers and look for a maple leaf. A maple leaf has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. And everything comes from the center again, but everything starts right here. That's where they start the veins for the leaf. Depending on what time of the fall will depend on the color that you get. Look at the green mixed in with this one. So now we're going to draw these leaves and these nuts. And we're going to do it with our watercolor paper. So I have 140-pound weight watercolor paper. And I have my watercolors. And I have my water. And I have my paintbrushes. Now, I also have a pencil. I'm going to draw these so that you can really see what I'm doing. What we're going to do is just make leaves on here. We are going to have to stop and dry them because I want to go to the next level here of watercolor. I've got my pencil. I'm going to have my leaf. So I'm going to start with an oak leaf. I've got it right out here. And I don't want it to be bigger than the oak leaf. I mean, I'm not drawing just one. I'm going to have about 5 leaves on here. So I know I'm going to have a stem. And this part down here is the smaller one. And then there's another one up here. And then there's another one up here. And then there's a top. Okay, do you see how I drew that in? I've got, well, that's medium, that's large, and these are almost smiles. When I go to do the leaf, these are going to change shape a little bit, but not much. So I'm going to make it up here to here now. So now I've got this part of my leaf in. Got this part of my leaf in. And I've got this part in. I can get rid of my smile lines now. Because they really aren't smile lines. If you look, they almost come out from the stem, straight from the stem, and then they come up and meet each other. Same way with this one up here. We're going to draw a maple and an oak. I'm even going to go in a little bit there. Get rid of this line here. Remember to keep your lines light. We really don't want to see those lines. Okay, I'm not going to put the veins in here because I'm going to let the watercolor do that. Okay, so I've got one of those in. Now I want to put one of my maple leaves in. And you go out to your trees and you get a maple leaf because I can guarantee you your maple leaves are going to be much bigger than this. And if you look, there's a photo that on the page, the red maple leaf. That's a good maple leaf. I like that one. It's even better than my silk flower one. Okay, so I've got that one there. And let's go ahead and let's put in a couple of acorns here. And we can even have the acorn sitting on the leaf. So you look at that picture. What we've got is an acorn and then a hat and then another acorn and a hat and then a stem, and maybe the leaf is coming here. Okay. This will give us something to start on. All right. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to say we're going to drop the paint onto it. I want to make sure that when I say drop, I don't mean polka dots. Okay? First off, I'm getting it wet. So let's start with this one over here. And these have such beautiful colors in the fall. They'll turn red, they'll turn orange, they'll turn yellow. There's a little bit of green in them. And remember, these are dark. I want yours light. Okay, I'm going to start with a lighter color, and it's going to be gold. Now, it's wet, so if I just lay my brush over here at the side, I'm dropping it into it. I'm just touching the water. I can then pick it up and move it. I can drop some more up here. Thing is, we aren't making it all one color. Now maybe this leaf here needs a little bit of orange in it. So I'm going to use Aussie Gold. Wow, that's a pretty color orange. And I'm going to just put it basically at the same spot. Our leaf is a little bit green. So I can come over here, just touch the green to the spot, and then let it pick it up and let it move. Maybe this whole side is going to be green. Now remember also that these leaves aren't all perfect. I'm adding water here just because I want to make this move. Look at the pretty colors we've gotten. I can add some reds and some maroons. Maybe at the tip of a couple. Now I don't have any veins in here yet. The veins you can put in with a smaller brush. And I can go with a darker color. And maybe I'm going to go with a dark scarlet. And the vein, it comes from here and it goes all the way down there. And at the very end, you have color in it. Maybe different colors than what you started with. So I'm going to put in another color just to make it really interesting. And I'm going to put in a purple right down here and here. Okay. I want you to notice that if I take and I make a line and I pull my brush up, look what happened. I got a bloom. I don't want that to bloom out. If I don't want it to bloom out, I keep my brush on the paper all the way to the end. It's when I pick up my brush, I get that bloom. If I don't want a bloom, all I got to do is pull my brush out a little bit harder, farther. Okay, this one needs something else. What is the opposite color of yellow? It's purple. If I put a little bit of purple at the edge over here, it's going to turn brown because it's a complementary color and everything turns brown or gray if it's the opposite eventually. So I'm giving it some edges with the complementary color. What's the complementary color of red? It's green. So where it's green or where it's red, I might come and put some green there and let it travel in. Remember that this is a tape. It's a video. And on the video, you can start and you can stop at any time. So I want you to work on this when it's wet, But once it starts drying, I want you to quit working on it. I want to let this dry. I don't want to use a hair dryer. If I use a hair dryer, it'll stop all these pretty things from happening. We're going to try that in a couple minutes on another piece. But let's move over here to this oak leaf. Okay, we are going to let this one wait. I want this to dry. I don't want you to touch it because if you touch it, your fingerprint ends up into it. We have to wait for it to dry to do anything else on that side. So we're going to move over to this great big leaf over here. This is going to be an oak leaf. The one I have a picture of, or the one that I have right here, is green. It's kind of boring. We're not going to make it boring. We're going to make it look like it would just as the tree is turning in the fall. And it's going to be beautiful reds and greens. So first of all, what I'm going to do is get it wet with water. I'm not going to the very edges of my drawing because I don't want the leaf to grow. You can see the water I'm using is kind of dirty, and that's going to let you see where the water is. I want you to use clean water. So this is just water. I'm giving it a wet bottom so that the paint that I put on it moves. Now I said I didn't want to put green in here, but we're actually going to start with green. So get some green on your brush. This is nice wet paint. I don't want any dry paint going on here. So I want you to mix up a wet paint. See how wet that is? See how much wet I've got? If I go like this, I've got a lot of water coming off this brush. I want a lot of water in here. Okay, I'm going to drop it in. That means that I'm not making polka dots like this. I want you to actually just lay your brush on the edge of it and not paint it all, but just put paint in spots. Do you see how I've got a dry spot there? That means I got to get some water on that. So I'm putting some water on that. Now, remember I said no polka dots? Here's why I said no polka dots. No matter what I do, that polka dot's going to be there. So I'm going to just paint around that polka dot to get it to go away. Okay, at this point, I can come in and I can add a little bit more water on here. Not polka dots, I'm not dotting. Okay, just to make it move more. Want some more water there too. Notice how I have to pick up my paper to let this move. There, I see it moving now. Okay, now I'm going to get some maroon color. And I'm going to drop some color in different spots. Pick it up and let it move. Look at that color move. Maybe I need some down here. Remember I said opposite colors will make brown? What do I have on here? I have green and red, which are opposite colors from the color wheel. And I want you to look at the color that I'm starting to get right there. I'm starting to get brown. I'm adding a little bit of water here. At any time, I can come in and add water, or I can get a spray bottle and add water to keep this nice and wet. Okay, I'm getting kind of bored here with red and green. I'm going to add some of that Aussie gold. We need to brighten this up a little bit. Oh, look at that. It's not moving. That means I need to pick up a little more water, drop it on there. Oh, there it goes. See it go? Look at that pretty leaf I'm getting. I think, though, that I need to get some more green in here. This is that wet green. I'm dropping the color in, not polka dotting it. I'm just picking a corner and saying, okay, I've got to get some green there. Am I rushing to do this? No, I'm not. I'm letting it take its time. I need some red up in that corner. How am I deciding that? What I need is all of a sudden it's starting to look boring. At least boring to me. There we go. Maybe I need some more green up there. All right, I've got one over here that we've got to get some paint on it. Just using what color I had in my brush. Pick up some Aussie gold, lay it on top of that. And then let it go and have fun and play with the other colors. All right, now I've got this nice and wet. And if I put my stem in it, it's gonna the stem is gonna spread out. So I don't want a lot of water on this. This is pretty dry. And I'm just going to lay my brush down. And remember I said if I stop right here, the paint's going to go out that way. I really don't want the paint to do that. So the way I get around it is I take and I slowly lift my brush as I pull it out. That kind of helps that. Remember I said that the stem and the veins don't start right at one spot. They start further down and then they come around and come out. So when I know I want to leave there, I start early. That's kind of pretty. Okay, everything isn't exactly perfect on a tree. Maybe some bird came along and it took a bite out of something. Or maybe the tree just kind of got dry. So I've got water on my brush, nothing else. I'm going to put a spot of water right there. And it pushes all the paint out. Do you see that? The paint's now been pushed out because the water is here and there's no room for the paint. So now it looks like that has a spot on the leaf. That's a simple oak leaf, one that's got color in it. Okay, let's go over to the acorn now. Okay, now we're going to start on our acorns. They're sitting on a leaf, so we've got to put the leaf on there. So I'm going to get underneath the acorn wet. Now, since these acorns are growing on a tree, this leaf is pretty green, and I'm going to let it stay pretty green just to show you how to put greens in and to make it not boring. So that's clean water. And here's some green. When I say drop it in, that's what I just did. Just took the tip and went down, dropped. Lift it up, let it run. And if it's not running, it might need a little water. I have a little spray bottle here. It's got water in it. I can just, wow, that sprayed it. I could just spray it. Tell it where to go. Okay, I'm going to drop some more color in. See, I'm just dropping green in. And I said we were just going to do a green leaf. But you see how boring that's getting? Even though it's green, there are other colors in green that make green. One of the colors might be yellow. We know that blue and green make yellow. I mean, blue and yellow make green. Boy, it's getting kind of messy on this one acorn, but look, it's okay. Need some more green. Dropping it in. Maybe what it really needs is some orange. That looks just totally dead to me. So I'm going to do that Aussie gold, which to me, I call that orange. Oh, there it is. Look at that. Do you see how I didn't put that right in the middle of that leaf? I kind of left it at a corner. Okay, I'm rinsing off my brush, and then I'm going to the clean water, and I'm putting it in here, and I'm just going to drop some water on it. Just at the edges again, just because I want this to move. It's not moving very much. All right, see, I have not painted the acorns yet. They're painting themselves. And that one is really getting painted. I really don't want the bottom of that to be green. So I've got a wet brush with clean water. I'm going to go in here, and a lot like the spot that I left on the other leaf, I'm just painting it out with the wet brush, moving that water out. Now you're not going to see a lot of water sitting here, so don't think that I don't see it, so it must not be there. It's there. And as it dries, that's when you see the action. All right, don't worry about getting outside of your lines, because we're going to take care of that next time. Okay, I'm not painting the acorns. I don't want a line there. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a whole thing of water. This is still wet. This is very wet. And this is really wet. We need to let this dry to do the next layer. But while I'm waiting, I can put in another leaf. Now maybe we're just going to put in a round leaf. These are elm leaves. And I'm going to draw an elm leaf for you. Very simple. And I'm going to come in with my green. I'm not even going to get this wet. I put the color in. I'm going to get some dry water, or clean up my brush. Then I'm going to get just water. And I'm going to come in here like this, meet the edge of it. Now I've got to get some other colors in there. I think I'm going to go with scarlet. That sounds like a good color, doesn't it? Oh, yeah. There's my center. Maybe it's going to have some gold. A gold spot right here, right here. So I'm going to put a spot of gold there and just let it work. I can lift it up. I can move it around a little bit. I could even spray it a little bit. That looks pretty good. As it dries, I can take the back end of my brush and I can score the paper. And it will, wherever the indent is, the paint will go there. And it'll settle there. This one needs a stem, and I'm going to give it a green stem. Okay. Okay, we're going to let this one dry. I said I was going to show you the difference between a hairdryer and letting it dry on its own. This is letting it dry on its own. Okay, I've got the Strathmore watercolor paper here. I was using Arches. The difference is what the paper's made of. The other paper that I had was made out of cotton. And this paper is made out of just paper pulp. So let's put that same leaf we just did on this paper. We're going to put the same colors in. We started out with green. See the difference going on already? It goes on real smooth. Okay. Then remember I went in with some water, kind of moved it around. Then I picked up some scarlet, put it in over here. And then I put in some gold. Then I let it run around. Already you're seeing a big difference in the leaves, aren't you? I sprayed it. And then I showed you the bit about using the end of a brush and to score the paper a little bit. Look at me make this vein. I'm starting down at the bottom and going up. Okay, then we're going to come in and we're going to make the stem. Already this leaf looks different than the other leaf, doesn't it? Now, I'm going to do another one. Same way. And I'd really like you to be able to do this too. It seems like it takes a lot of paper, but that's okay. We're learning. This is the exact same paper. Some clean water, some green, rinse it out, get some water in there. Get some gold in here. See how I can do this over and over again. I can use the same colors and it's not going to be the same. No matter what I do, I have never been able to recreate exactly what I've just done. So when somebody says, oh, I want one just like that, and they ask me to paint it for them, I just laugh at them. There's no way it's going to turn out just like that. Okay, let's spray some water on this one. I need some more gold or yellow. Let's put some yellow in that one. Make it brighten up. Oh, yes. That's going to brighten up now. And let's put a magenta in it. Oh, yeah. That's perfect. Okay, I'm going to come in and with my end of my paintbrush, I'm going to make the veins. I'm going to come out here. Now, I'm going to leave this one, and I'm not going to dry it. And we're going to see the difference between the one we just did and using a hairdryer. It takes a long time for it to dry. This is still wet. Not so much here, but I know it's wet up there because you can still see it. Okay, that's dry. So we have to let the other stuff dry. I'm going to put my other stuff away for about 20 minutes to a half an hour, and then I'm going to start filming again, and we're going to talk about what we have. Okay, this is that same leaf on Arches paper. The type of paper that you use is very, very important in getting what you want. So I'm just making that leaf, that same leaf that I have. This is the one that I'm going to use the hairdryer on with the Arches paper. I've got the same colors, the exact same colors in there. Taking the end of a paintbrush, going to score it. And then I'm going to just add some color down at the bottom. Okay, now I'm going to dry this one. Okay, this is dry. Really nice because I can now do whatever I want to with this. I can go on to my next layer. Or I can wait until my other's dry. But that is the advantage of the hairdryer. I can keep working, but I don't want to. I want my other stuff to dry, and I want to show you why it's better to let it dry by itself. Okay, it's been about a half hour, and everything is pretty dry. Remember, if you touch it like this, you get a fingerprint, and you can never get rid of that fingerprint. So don't test your paper by touching it. If you want, you can turn the paper over, and you can feel the temperature difference between dry and wet. This is still a little bit colder than the paper we haven't used yet. So I'm going to have to be a little careful with it, but it's pretty much dry. Let's talk about our hairdryer. This is the same type of paper, so we should get the same type of look. This is the hairdryer. See how the lines are hard here? And this is dried naturally. See, even when I had a hard line, the color kind of diffused. The hairdryer stops all of the watercolors from working, from diffusing, from having little pieces, granules come out. It does make the process go faster, but to me, it's not worth it. It's up to you. If you'll notice, this is the other side of the paper. Don't throw your watercolors away. You'll never know when you can use the other side of the paper or when you can do a different technique on it. I've got paper here that I've used I don't know how many times. It started out with just this picture. I didn't really like it. I have this. It wasn't exactly what I wanted. It was kind of neat, but not exactly what I wanted. I've done I don't know how many different paintings with it. So don't throw away your paper. The paper is much too expensive to waste any little inch of it. This right here is the Strathmore paper. It's not the Arches paper that I was using on the other one. This is still a little bit wet right up here at this tip, but I want you to notice the difference between a hairdryer and an air dryer. This is just the air drying. If you look at all of this granulation going on there, and you look at all of this, that was stopped. Everything, none of this intermixing that's going on in this one happened on this one. This is a more exciting leaf. Now this is wood pulp paper. That means it doesn't hold the water as well. If I were to paint on it, I can put a layer of paint. I can drop paint into it. And it'll run, but I really can't do much more with it than this. And I want to go back to another thing. When I said I was scoring the paper, scoring means pressing into it, causing a line to form. I can use a pencil to score it. I can use the edge of a brush. I can use scissors. Can use a knife, a fork, anything. And any mark that I make in the paper that indents it is called scoring it. I don't have to score it. I can come in and I can say that this is my stem. And I can make the lines myself. It just depends on the work, the look that you want to do and the work that you want to do. So either way, these were scored and those lines are hard. These lines are softer. If I were to do any more work on this, I wouldn't be able to say I want to put another, I don't like this one. I could get it wet again, but the minute I get this wet, the paint wants to move. It doesn't want to stay where it is. Okay, I can then take my color and drop it here, pick up my paper, and let it move. But all of the paint is moving, not just the paint that I want to move. There we go. If I go back to my Arches paper, and let's say I need to do something more on this, I can wet this whole leaf down like this. And you can see it is that paint isn't moving around. It's in there. I can now come and I can pick up, I'll pick up the same color I picked up over there. And I can drop it in. And when I move this paint around, the paint that was underneath it is not going to be moving. So this paper I can work and I can keep adding layer after layer after layer. This paper I can't. It's done with one layer. So that's the difference between Arches and Strathmore paper. Okay, I've given you so much information here, and I want you to work on your leaves. So keep working on your leaves. I will keep finishing this. I'll have to start and stop the video because I want to let it dry. But I'm going to get 2 or 3 layers of leaves on here, and each time we're going to fast forward it for you. Okay. Okay, we've got this part. We can go over here and we can work on these acorns. I can take now, and here's my acorn. And there is some green in it. I can put some green in it, right like that. And maybe I just want some golds. Now, I'm not using it as wet of paint. I want to control where this is going to go. So I want to make sure I'm not quite as wet. Okay, I'm going to just do this other one gold. All right, now the hat is, oh, it's got texture in it. It's greens, it's colors. So I'm going to go ahead and just use some dirty paint that I have in the center of my palette. Okay, so I've got dirty paint there, but it looks pretty flat, doesn't it? I'm going to get water on my brush. This is straight water, and I'm just going to make touches with water. Okay, as that dry, it should have different layers of texture in it. Do the same thing on this other one. And on this other one, I'm going to put some salt. And I'm going to be very careful and drop it only in the cap. Okay, the paint has to be wet for this to work. So let's see if it does. We can't touch it now. It has to sit there. All right, we're going to move to the next layer. Let's say that our leaves were sitting on other leaves. Maybe there is a maple leaf sitting underneath this oak leaf. And the maple leaf has a top point. And it comes out and it has another point. Goes underneath this one, comes out here. And that he has different colors. He's going to start with yellow, and we're going to add reds and oranges in that one. But I'm going to start with a nice wet leaf. I want you to have clean water. I've got my old dirty water so you can see where I am wetting everything. And I've got water here, and I'm not really touching the leaf on top. You see the water that I'm laying down? Yours is clean. Mine is dirty. Mine is dirty only for teaching purposes. Okay, got that leaf underneath there, and I said we were going to make this more yellow. So I am going to start with a yellow. Not a bright yellow, kind of a goldy yellow. Just dropping the color in. No polka dots. It's going to run and go where this water is. Okay, now I'm going to get some of that Aussie gold. This is a pretty orange. And I'm going to drop it in here. If I were to put purples in right here, right now, it would turn brown. I don't want my brown leaves, but I'm going to put red in here. I'm going to put a rose color. This is going to be a really pretty leaf. And I'm almost trying to put it in as though it were a vein coming out. Because I think the leaves color along those lines. Okay, I'm going to lift my paper up. It's not moving very much. That means it needs water. So I'm adding some water to it. Still not moving very much. So I'm going to add some more clean water. There it goes. Okay, this is doing what I want it to do. Now I want you to notice something. I said don't go up to the leaf in front of it or on top of it, but now I'm going to take a smaller brush and I'm just going to kind of push the paint up to it. I'm almost leaving a small clean area there, like a white strip, but not really. But I don't have to go right on top of it. I just want to go to my pencil lines. So I'm controlling it. Okay, now we have to let that dry. That one is done. Let's do another one. Let's do one of these leaves here, and let's do it over here. Well, let's do it right next to it. So I'm going to get my green. Oh, I forgot to draw it out for you. You know, the edges aren't real smooth, which is why I do it this way. Put some water on it. Maybe I want to get some of this gold in here. You can play around with the color and see how you can get it to come out looking the way you want. And see the different textures that you can get on these leaves. As you can see, this isn't like a leaf I did before. Okay, and we're going to let that dry. And while that's drying, I'm going to move over to this leaf right here. This leaf is sitting on a table or a surface. And right here, it's probably off of because it's sitting on another leaf, there's probably a shadow underneath it. The shadow is probably right something like this. How am I going to show that shadow? I can show it with purple. I can show it with blue. I'm going to go with a purple. And I'm not going to go right up to that leaf because I want to have more control over this paint. And I'm trying not to touch that one there. Now I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. And I'm going to push that all the way up there. Maybe I'm going to get some of that dark green in there. Because I know sometimes in a shadow, you see the color of the object bleeding into the shadow. Okay, that looks like a shadow. Now, where else would we see a shadow on this? We'd probably see a shadow right here. So I'm going to do the same thing. And make another shadow there. Get my small brush. We are going to see that shadow continue onto this other leaf that we've made, but we can't put the shadow in it until it's dry. It's probably going to be a shadow right there. Now, if I'm seeing a shadow over here, that means that this is laying down this way. So I'm probably not going to see shadows over here. I've got to pick the side that I think I'm going to see the shadow on. Now, I'll make a bet that this leaf here is sticking up in the air where the stem is. You know how the stems are never flat? They always curve, but their shadow is always straight. So because I have a shadow down here, I'm probably going to have a shadow over here. You see how my shadow is off of that one? Then I can make a shadow over here. Let's see if the sun is coming in this way. Where would be my shadow? I've got to stop and I've got to figure out how I'm going to see these shadows. This leaf or this edge is probably going to be like that. I can't put any paint on this because it's still wet. And I'll make a bet that there will be a shadow underneath here. Remember, this is my world. I'm telling you where the sun is or where I'm seeing shadows. Your world might be different. You might see them in a different spot. And I'm just using a light purple. Now, even though I haven't painted more leaves underneath here, doesn't mean that once I get these shadows on, we're done and we can't paint more underneath them, because we can. We just have to wait for this to dry. We will be able to put more shadows on this right here after this is dry. I just can't do it when it's wet. These are pretty dry now. Let's go up here and let's get some shadows in on the caps right there. And I'm still using that light purple. And my acorn probably sits out here with a little bit of a shadow. He has a stem up here. And this one down here is, maybe here's where the shadow is. Okay, we got to get a shadow in under this leaf. Let's put it right here and right here. That was an awful big brush for a very small shadow. Now maybe this is kind of sitting up. So let's go ahead and let's make the shadow from this one as though it were sitting up. See how I put that in there? I didn't let it touch this shadow because the shadow is coming from here like that. Now it looks like he's sitting up. All right, this has still got to dry over here.